One may question if 10-foot tall aliens are invading Florida. One may ask what the gods chosen are doing with children underneath the streets of New York. I, however, have but one overriding question. Is our chosen Swedish man able to type in the correct box today? The world may never know. Let's see. Activist investors drop ESG campaigns on lack of profits. Who could have foreseen this turn of events? Hello, Swedish man. Let's see. Consultancy Alvarez and Marshall activist investors were less likely to engage in ESG campaigns this year after they proved to be markedly less lucrative than campaigns that focus on effective operational or strategic change. The research focused on 550 activist shareholder campaigns that took place between 2016 and 2021 at companies in the US and Europe. Activist investors have been an important tool for bringing climate change agenda closer to management and companies in the energy industry. Of course, we know that all that there's a bunch of hogwash for actually having any meaningful change. And given how the investors are dropping like flies because there's no such thing as a turn in investment in the ESG scam. So, yeah. It is short. I'm just going to read it verbatim. Activist investors' love for sustainability related shareholder campaigns appear to be growing cold in the absence of any practical outcomes, a consultancy has said. Practical outcomes means money. Money. There's no money in this. Per Alvarez and Marshall, as quoted by Bloomberg, activist investors were less likely to engage in ESG campaigns this year after they proved to be markedly less lucrative than campaigns that focus on effective operational or strategic change. As investors focus more firmly on returns in 2024, in a challenging market, we expect to see a decline in ESG related campaigns and a renewed focus on metrics such as margin growth, cash generation, and return on capital. The devil, you say? Alvarez and Marshall managing director and Andre Medeiros said the consultancy looked at 550 activist shareholder campaigns that took place between. Repeating itself. Slav, stop repeating yourself. That's my job. According to analysis of the campaign outcome data, the consultancy found the investor campaigns that focus on change in the operational or strategic departments outperformed the market by an average of 9.4% over the past 6 years. At the same time, campaigns focused on sustainability related aspects of the company's activities outperformed the market at a much more modest rate of 0.2% over a 6 year period. Activist investors have been an important tool for bringing the climate change agenda closer to the management of companies and energy industry for forcing public energy companies to make commitments for emission reduction and investments of low carbon energy, aka greenwashing. However, these investments have failed to produce returns that most investors would like, and recently led to a couple of U-turns at super majors BP and Shell, both previously fully committed to directing more money to things like wind, solar, EVs, while reducing their core business of producing and marketing oil and gas. The reason cited for a change in strategy was consistent underperformance of these investments as opposed to cash spent on core business. What a fucking shock! I love it when the system implodes because much like Bernie Madoff, this was never meant to last. In other white pill news, German truckers team up with farmers to raise hell over disappearing fuel subsidies. And again, the cops are also on these guys' side too for once, so hey. German truckers joined farmers for a week of protests over government plan to scrap tax breaks on diesel used in agriculture in order to combat climate change after Chancellor Olaf Scholz, I'm going to call him Schnoz, because that's what he is. A three-party coalition announced the plans last month to nix car tax exemption for farming vehicles as well as diesel tax breaks. Protesters in front of Brandenburg gated Berlin parked tractors and display signs such as "No farmer, no food, no future." The government announced is part of a plan to try fix a 17 billion euro hole in Germany's 2024 budget. Or you could close the fucking borders and kick out all the leeches. Just saying. I'm just spitballing ideas here. On Thursday, the government walked back part of the plan, announcing while the car tax exemption would remain, cuts in diesel tax break would be staggered over 3 years. This did not calm German farmers, as it shouldn't. Whose association demanded full reversal, said it would move forward with a week of action starting Monday, in which farmers used tractors to block entry roads and highways early in the day. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Again, there are farmers and truckers protest all around the world right now, and that shit's not gonna slow down anytime soon. But with BlackRock and the ESG shitting the bed right now, at this point it's a waiting game. Like their system is unsustainable and will fail, and we just have to outlast it. They need leeches to eat them. Schwab's plan. Yes. Instead, it's like in Germany, bugs eat you. I had to struggle. I had to struggle for that joke. Let's see. This is like white pill after white pill after white pill. I'm loving it. French legislation weakens clean energy commitments and favors nuclear. We all saw this coming after the COP28 thing, but now it's like, boots hitting the pavement kind of thing at this point. Cheers to France for if pending legislation passes as currently written, it effectively scraps most hard commitments and turns more towards nuclear power. And for those who don't know, France runs a shit ton of their power off of nuclear energy. So, for France saying like, "Oh, we're going to get rid of nuclear power," that's like damn near half of their energy production right there. Good luck with that. Let's see. Four key things. The wording of this preliminary bill related to energy sovereignty is, of course, not final. It can still evolve between now and its presentation to the Council of Ministers and then during discussion in Parliament. However, it already demonstrates a significant change in the executive's conception of national energy policy. This bill weakens France's climate objectives, starting with the objective of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The objective would no longer to reduce, but to tend towards a reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions. And as much as I rag on this shit, like reducing emissions is a good thing, but you have to keep things in perspective. If you can do them without it being at a great cost to either production or just the bottom line, it's something one should do. But you should never be under the illusion it's actually going to mean anything uh, long term because of places like China and India. But that's not saying you shouldn't try. Let's see, this preliminary draft proposes to translate into law the executive's choice to maintain a preponderant share of nuclear energy and electricity production, a choice which breaks that of reducing the share of nuclear power, which was included in law, blah, 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 relating to energy transition for green growth. This preliminary bill also reflects concern on the eve of the European elections in June 2024. I forgot. The EU elections are in 2024 too. Holy shit. This summer is going to be wild. Okay. To abandon the legal category of renewable energies in favor of a new category that is carbon free energies. Yeah. Yeah, majority details. Yeah. I don't know. Reality slapping the face of the powers that be will always be amusing to me and stuff. And you can only virtue sick, much like communism, because that's what it is at the end of the day. So communism only works as long as you have other people's money. Once you run out of other people's money, then it fails. That goes for communism. That goes for ESG. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Ah, yes, the white pills continue. National Park Services scraps plan to remove William Penn statue after public outcry. With Ivy League institutions finally revealed as Marxist plagiarist echo chambers, it appears the public is also officially done with woke ritual, removing statues. Just hours after the National Park Service announced they would remove the statue, William Penn at Pennsylvania's Welcome House, located in the Old City section of the city. The service swiftly reversed course. Though Sarah Hedge can confirm that the outlet received significant pushback on the idea, social media was littered yesterday with objectors to the statue removal. As we know, yesterday, the modest-sized Penn statue was located at the site of William Penn's former home. The Welcome Park site was completed in its current form back in 1982. Who said yesterday the park officials wanted to re envision the park and expand the interpretation of Native American history of Philadelphia to make it more welcoming and inclusive for visitors, which we covered the other day, was a load of horseshit because William Penn was like, all right, let us get along with the natives. Natives liked him. He wanted to get along. So, this is one of those inconvenient, good cis het Christian white males that the allegedly aggrieved people are like, no, we actually like this guy. Actually, I like this line. Said one person on social media responding to a flip flop, everything is a test from this monument of Penn to the taking over bridges of freeways out west, highways here on the East Coast to Ireland, UK, and beyond. COVID isolation, trampling the First Amendment. They're seeing how far they can go. Yes. That's all this. That's all the last 4 years. That's all the last 4 years have been. Is how far can they push? What can they get away with? Yeah. I'm kind of curious to see if they're not going to try something on the sly in the upcoming weeks as the brouhaha over this quiets down. But for the moment, let's take this win. U.S. I gonna have the same statue parks Russia had after a fall. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's funny because they're the usual suspects are all about tearing down statues, but you know who they don't want to tear down a statue of? Marx, Lenin. Those guys. I would say they'd want they'd wouldn't want to tear down a statue of Trotsky, but they probably don't even know who Trotsky is. Okay. In the ongoing what the shittery at the Pentagon, White House orders protocols review after Austin was MIA for prostate cancer surgery complications. So it comes out in the wash that he was in for prostate cancer surgery. Finally, after days of public backlash coming from congressional leaders as well as the former Department of Defense officials, the White House is initiating a review of Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's secret hospitalization fiasco. Answers are being sought as to just how and why it took nearly 4 days for the White House, including President Biden and even the Pentagon number 2, to be informed that the Pentagon chief is out of commission. The situation has risen to the levels of persistent calls for Austin's resignation. I agree. But there's no indication that this is a plan, especially after Biden on Monday expressed full confidence in his appointed defense chief. And it was Tuesday afternoon briefing, Austin still has full confidence of the president. Yeah, but we don't have full confidence of the president, if you follow. There's more details of his surgery. More waffling about what's going on. Yeah, and here's a kind of sticking point. He's still in the hospital. Or confidence in Congress. Or confidence in the whole chain of command, if we're just being honest. Okay, this is more of an essay, but it's a good essay. Science in the service of the agenda. Starting in the mid 20th century, companies began distorting and manipulating science to favor specific commercial interests. And it goes over a lot of examples, but it opens up with the tobacco industry. So back in the 50s, back in the 50s, doctors knew that smoking caused lung cancer and shit like that. But the tobacco industry began buying out doctors and putting out, publishing like white papers and stuff saying, like, oh no, smoking's totally not that bad. And other industries did this as well. And they used the tobacco industry as a blueprint. So, I know the tobacco industry did this. The alcohol industry did this. The sugar industry did this. Like pretty much all the vices, all the vice industries took a page out of big tobacco and tried to whitewash their industries by paying off people. And this shit has continued to this day, and we see it all the time. Uh, specific, way particularly in the medical field nowadays and stuff, because 2020 and onwards, and the shit show that we're continuing to deal with. Fast forward to the present, the entire industry of evidence based and academic medicine is now suspect to the malfeasance of certain pharma players. Yep. Let's see, COVID 19. Yep. Yeah. Also, climate change. Yep. The whole climate change thing is one big shit show that's massaging the numbers and trying to sway public opinion with the oh no, the world's gonna end if we go up a degree, shit like that we've covered ad nauseum. Do, 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 do. I like this line. Those who produce a counter narrative from the government approved one soon find themselves without funding, tenure, without jobs, unable to publish, and unable to procure additional grants or contracts. Is a dead end career wise, the system has been rigged. Yes. Yes. Because saying going against the cult of the day and the powers that be is tantamount to suicide. This is very self evident. Just like the tobacco industry's scientific disinformation campaign, they are distorting health research to make the case that eating meat is dangerous to humans. Normal standards for publication have been set aside. The propaganda is thick and easily spotted. Yep, like the whole fake meat, beyond meat, all that. They're like, I remember when that shit first started coming online, there was a lot of like health papers coming out. It's like, oh yeah, this is totally good for you. It's like, no, it's not. It's all bullshit. It's all it ever was. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good read. Oh yes, Claudine Gay. Claudine Day is only digging deeper. Victor David Hansen. It is understandable that Claudine Gay is furious over her forced resignation, her calamitous fall from grace, and the public consensus about the great damage done to Harvard by her presidency. But still, playing the wounded fawn is no excuse or defense. There's a couple of good points here I want to pull out. Yes, I like this. I like this paragraph. Gay knows that other white university presidents have recently been forced to resign for far less culpable behavior than her own. Pennsylvania President Liz McGill was forced to quit after her December 5th seemingly inability or unwillingness to act against the blatant anti-Semitic speech and conduct on her own campus, or Stanford's President Mark Tessier Levine for co authoring some decades earlier scientific papers whose results were not always based on authenticated data. Again, as for Gay insinuations of cabal that took her down, she also knows that such a charge is no more true or false than the public outrage, both liberal and conservative, over McGill's obtuseness, or the largely left-wing effort to remove the white male TCA living. Gay knows that she herself has disciplined and censored lots of Harvard professors, among them preeminent black scholars such as Roland Fryer and Roland Sullivan, on speculative allegations far less egregious than her own serial plagiarism and inconsistent policies of addressing hate speech. Did anyone suggest she was then a racist? Makes you think. You think it's Pride Month with how we can't get the gay out of the headlines. I know. It's weird. Actually, I like this point. Gay knows that she's done irrevocable damage to Harvard, given Harvard's corporation, its legal team, its 700 supportive faculty letter signers, and its satellite freelancers leave to embarrass themselves further and gravely erode the institution's reputation and credibility by going out of their way to defend an indefensible solely on her behalf. Yes, dying on the hill that is Claudine Gay nukes absolutely whatever credibility Harvard had left. If anyone takes, like, this joke has been made more than once for years at this point. If you have a Ivy League degree, not even like a joke, like studies degree, just being from a high end, uh, accredited Ivy League university and stuff. Anyone who anyone who is not a goddamn idiot looks at looks at your credentials and say like this person is useless. That would be my mindset. If I were in HR and I saw anyone out of like the upper end universities in like the last decade or so, it would almost automatically go into the trash. Just out of principle. I don't know. Onwards and upwards. Speaking of which, okay, this one's getting going back to the infuriating end of the equation. Trans professor with Be Gay Do Crimes tattoo appointed to World Health Organization task force. Law professor will help create health guidelines for transgender and diverse people. A Canadian, this is why it grinds my gears, a Canadian transgender professor who sports a Be Gay Do Crimes tattoo recently was appointed to the World Health Organization group tasked with developing healthcare guidelines for quote unquote trans and gender diverse people. Florence Ashley, an assistant professor at the University of Alberta. I'm actually surprised. This is out in Alberta. But then again, all SETI centers are just hellholes at this point. It is one of 21 individuals in the new task force, and about half of them identify as transgender. What a shock. Ashley uses they, them, that, bitch pronouns. I'm going to repeat that because that there is fucking retarded. Ashley uses they, them, that, bitch. Well, he is a bitch. So I can agree on that point. Scheduled to meet February, the goal is to develop international guidelines that will increase access and utilizations of quality and respectful health services by trans and gender diverse people. Yep, and so are lobotomies. After comments sparked backlash on social media, the law professor got a Be Gay Do Crimes tattoo to be gay do crime even harder. Oh, God. Smack the gay out of this guy. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I don't trust anything to come out of the United Nations, and for as a reminder, the World Health Organization is a subsidy of the United Nations. So I don't trust anything that comes out of the United Nations. So how long before everyone puts slurs as their pronouns? My pronouns are his Lord and Majesty, Godzilla. Next. Okay, this is fucked up. I may be a humble rock licker, but it seems to me that the numbers are out of whack with this one. University of Michigan now has over 500 jobs dedicated to DEI payroll exceeding $30 million. This is retarded. Much like the people employed, this is, in fact, retarded. University of Michigan continues to exponentially grow the number of staffers dedicated to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, with at least 241 paid employees now focused on DEI payroll cost exceeding $30 million annually, according to analysis conducted for the College Fix. Payroll costs are $23.24 million for salaries, $7.44 million for benefits, or $30.68 million on the amount that would cover in-state tuition and fees for 1,781 undergraduate students. Money well spent. Instead of having your voter base get a free ride in college, no, you have to hire a handful of nitwits. Yep, money well spent. And here's the kicker: 13 DEI staff members earn more than $200,000, and 66 earn more $100,000 when factoring in benefits. That is retarded. It's like managers are all the way down. In addition to 76 faculty or staff members work part-time as DEI unit leaders. I got your unit right here. Advancing diversity efforts in one of UM's 51 schools, colleges, and units, bringing UM's core DEI headcount to 317, said economist Mark Perry, who conducted the analysis. I would have blown my top if my taxes went towards this shit. But I'm sure it goes worse. Oh, God. Okay, it's giving me a good chuckle. Given the program's track record, it is unfortunate that DEI bureaucracy is ballooning even further. That's putting it fucking mildly. Oh, woof. Bet those unit leaders get paid according to how many underlings they have. Yeah, it's almost like it's a fucking mob racket. Makes you think. Okay, this one actually gave me a chuckle. Mega rich are forcing out millionaires on billionaires' Bunker Island. The mega rich are forcing out millionaires as billionaire Bunker Island, Indian Creek in Miami, Florida, is increasingly becoming a private enclave for the uber elite, namely Baldy. A local historian told Bloomberg that even wealthy people can no longer afford to live on the island because they are being priced out by people like Amazon's Jeff Bezos. Only the very wealthy, the billionaires, can afford to live in Indian Creek now. Hundreds of millions aren't going to cut it anymore, said Paul George. Bezos already owns multiple properties on the island and is looking to buy 3 more, having bought 2 neighboring homes on the island for a total of nearly $150 million last year. Jesus fucking Christ. And this here island looks fucking tiny. It looks fucking tiny. Beep. Yeah. Let's see who we have on the island. Julio Iglesias, Jeff Bezos again, Carl Icahn, Tom Brady, Ivanka Trump, and Jared Kushner. Fuck, that island's small. And fuck, you can easily like swim, do it. It's not like it's fucking enclave. Psh, just get more money. I know, right? It's just easy. Just get more money. Easy peasy. Why would anyone need 5 or more properties on one single small island is up for debate. Is it just so Bezos can avoid people, or is he trying to construct something similar to Mark Zuckerberg, who keeps expanding his secretive Kulau Ranch hideout in Hawaii? Zuckerberg is building a 5,000 square foot underground doomsday shelter, something Bezos is almost certainly trying to emulate. I don't really buy this line. The privacy of Indian Creek is a big draw for the ultra high net worth is a private police force which patrols the community around the clock by foot, sky, and land. Yeah, but if shit goes sideways, they are gone. Like there's this really good scene in World War. I forget if it's the Zombie Survival Guide or World War Z. One of the two has a good a chapter of literally this high end rich people hideout, and they live stream at the end of the world during the zombie apocalypse, but it fell immediately because the security guards opened the door and the plebs rushed in and tore up the place. That's how that's how that's how like Zuckerberg and Bezos's bunkers are going to go end up compromised when shit really hits the fan. They're not going to be safe. They're going to be torn limb from limb by the pearls. My only hope is that someone is live streaming it. Dear God, please some live stream that when it happens. Okay, this here got recommended. The task force will be the first to turn on them. Yep. Let's see. From the Associated Press. Ugh. Ugh. Pope Francis calls for a universal ban on surrogacy. He says it exploits mother and child. I agree. But I think okay, here's the thing. I doubt he really cares. Like here's the thing. Here's the thing with the last few popes. The last few popes will say wherever they have to please the most people. So I don't think he really gives two shits about the mother and the child. I really don't. I really don't, because Pope Francis is a hardcore communist. He does not give a fuck about the sanctity of the mother and child. He does not. I think his call for this year is to placate, like the archbishops, like the people who vote him in. This is another instance of him trying to please his immediate underlings and keep from getting lynched. Okay, so it looks like the main part here is that he was calling out all the wars that are going on, and he kind of also just like tagged on this here little thought of like, oh yeah, also the surrogacy thing is no good, like as an afterthought. Small Hats Club, yeah, that's a good way to call it. The Small Hat Club. Okay, here's something I've known about for a while. It's always kind of made me go make my noggin jogging. The Vatican teaching opposes in vitro fertilization, and Francis has previously voiced that the Roman Catholic Church's opposition to surrogacy, or what is called uterus for rent. At the same time, however, the Vatican Doctrine Office has made it clear the same-sex parents who resort to surrogacy can have their children baptized. Here's the thing with the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is all about go forth and breed. Okay, so the Catholic Church being against like in vitro fertilization, surrogacy, and shit like that, like pretty much putting any impediment towards knocking out kids baffles my mind when it comes to the Catholic Church. Ragging on Russia for the war. Ragging on Israel for the war. And again, the here's the thing with the Pope. The Pope himself is not absolved of paying lip service. Him giving out platitudes of saying surrogacy is bad is just lip service. That's all it is. Ooh, reflux is kicking my ass again. Tums. Oh. Okay, this one actually is very interesting for me. Poland's obstruction in Nord Stream pipeline probe raises alarms for investigators. Palestine is Dante's Inferno. I would argue the entirety of the Middle East is hell, but that's neither here nor there. Let's see. At this point, one might be forgiven for thinking that Nord Stream pipeline sabotage is already ancient history. After all, mainstream media and primetime TV news coverage has by and large moved on as soon as it became clear that Russia had nothing to do with it. At this point, the consensus, even among Moscow's vehement enemies, is that the September 26, 2022 series of blasts, which disabled the Russia to Germany NS1 and NS2 natural gas pipeline, had Ukrainian and/or Western involvement. While MSM sources have favored the theory that it was a mystery group of pro-Ukraine operatives on a small yacht, legendary investigative journalist Seymour Hersh has reported that it was the CIA and U.S. Navy special operation with the help of Norwegian intelligence services. I agree. Since then, the ongoing investigation by Germany, Denmark, and Sweden into details of what happened has continued to yield very interestingly incremental developments. The latest was revealed in the Wall Street Journal report this week that involves apparently Polish obstruction of the probe, which has been deemed by officials as highly suspicious. I agree. Let's see, reports of Wall Street Journal. Polish officials have resisted cooperating with an international probe into the sabotage of the Nord Stream natural gas pipeline and failed to disclose potentially crucial evidence, according to European investigators working on the case. Cover up, you don't say. Those Polish officials had been slow to provide information and withheld key evidence about the alleged saboteurs' movements on Polish soil, investigators said. They are now hoping the new government in Warsaw, which took office in December, will help shed light on the attack. European investigators have long believed the attack was launched from Ukraine via Poland, but they say Warsaw's failure to fully cooperate has made it hard to establish whether the attack happened with or without former Polish government's knowledge, according to senior officials. And further, some senior European officials say they are considering approaching the office of Donald Tusk, Poland's new prime minister. And okay, that's finally registered for me. His name is Donald Tusk. For help in investigating the biggest act of sabotage in European continent since World War II. According to more from the report, investigators haven't offered evidence linking the Polish government to the explosions, and they say that even if some Polish officials were involved, they could have been without knowledge of the political leadership. Yet they say efforts by Polish officials to hinder the investigation have made them increasingly suspicious of Warsaw's role and motives. Poland is, of course, leading Eastern European NATO country, and it would certainly come as no surprise that Polish intelligence or military was involved. The United States also, as of late, worked hand in glove with Poland on defense issues as part of NATO's so-called Eastern flank. That's being incrementally connected even in established media sources. Yeah, because it's kind of one of those things where if you have enough evidence, well, you can only bullshit for so long before people are like, yeah, no. Moscow officially, no doubt, keeping a close eye on such reports, and all this strongly suggests there will still be surprise and potential bombshells to come in the official European investigation, which is likely to drag on for years. Whether the world will ever get behold the truth of the sabotage operation is another question. I highly doubt it. But I'm sure World War III is going to heat up long before anyone gives a care what happened in the lead up to it. Speaking of which, ahem, this was fucking wild. Gunmen storm live broadcast amid mass violence in Ecuador. President declares internal armed conflict. In the wake of the apparent prison escape of two of the country's most powerful drug gang leaders, Ecuador was rocked by a variety of violent incidents on Tuesday, including an on air takeover of a television news broadcast in the country's largest city. In response, President Daniel Noboa declared 22 gangs to be terrorist organizations and ordered the military to neutralize them. As TC Television was airing a news program of his Guyanese studios, men burst in wielding pistols, shotguns, and what appeared to be some sort of fused explosives. Startled viewers across the country heard what sounded like gunshots, and masked intruders announced they had bombs. They only ruled the airways for 20 minutes. Ecuador officials say all 13 perpetrators of the studio takeover were arrested. All hostages were freed. The perpetrators will confront justice and be sentenced for terrorist acts, said the police via Twitter. While Zero can't fully confirm its authenticity, this purported video of their mass perp walk seems to show that some physical justice was dished out by the cops well before the thugs see a judge. Okay, I want to say this one. Fuck, the first guy's head was swollen as fuck. Oh Jesus, the Shiner in that last one. Holy fuck. Fucking guy probably got the butt end of a gun on that one. Elsewhere, there are reports of 7 police officers being kidnapped in 3 different acts, as well as explosions in 5 different cities, and looting and more. 5 hospitals were also subjected to some kind of brief takeovers following prison riots and escapes that included 2 major gang kingpins. Nearly 140 prison staff members are still being held hostage. So far, major media aren't reporting any fatalities, but expect that to change. Just for stars, there are videos circulating that purport to show a prison guard being hung, and others said to depict the charred human remains of car bombing, and the man lying dead in the street after being shot by police. Ecuador's government said the mayhem was sparked by an announcement that the new high security prison would be built to house gang leaders. I remember this. Today's events show that the actions and decisions taken by the national government are gravely affecting criminal structures, and as an answer, they have created a wave of violence to frighten the populace, said Admiral Jamie Vela, the top official in Ecuador's military. That spin is clearly intended to bolster sagging confidence in the government's ability to rescue Ecuadorian society. On Monday, Noboa declared 60-day state of emergency after the escape of Adolfo Macias, who leads the Los Guerreros gang. In the wake of Tuesday's descent into widespread violence, Noboa upped the ante by naming 22 gangs that would be now considered terrorist organizations that are fair game for the military, and by alerting the country that is now in the throes of internal armed conflict. Mexico, take notes. The country's nerves are rattled. Videos circulating on social media show students at the University of Guayaquil running in the panic-feared government. The school, however, said no gang intrusions occurred. Other videos show frightened crowds fleeing a shopping mall. Ecuador is already slipping into an abyss. Violent deaths in 2023 were nearly 100% higher than 2022 in August. An opposition presidential candidate whose promise of crackdown on drug gangs was assassinated. I remember this. The new year is off to even more worrisome start. Rather summarize the immediate financial fallout. Ecuadorians' sovereign bonds fell by. No one cares. Coas. The forces of Coas once again. Bale said 5 donkeys. Yeah, it's not gonna play. Fuck it. In 2009. Yeah, that was a while ago. The people of Ecuador voted to evict all U.S. military personnel. However, in September, the United States and Ecuador reached an agreement to allow U.S. sea forces to operate on Ecuador's coast and to disembark when requested by their hosts, pursuing curtailing drug traffic. There are some who question Washington's motives, the U.S. seeking to escalate its war on drugs in Latin America as a pretext for trying to regain strategic dominance in the region. Oh, we know it is. CIA going to CIA. Yeah, see how that turns out. I'm still waiting for the Guyana to pop off. Come on. In the news of the insufferable that is the United Kingdom, Scottish parents who refuse to let their kids go trans could face 7 years in prison. Parents who refuse to accept their children identifying as transgender could face 7 years in jail under a new law in Scotland. Scotland. Out in the mighty have fallen. Proposals published on Tuesday state the actions designed to change or suppress another individual's gender identity, causing them physical or psychological harm, will become illegal under the radical law, reports the Telegraph. The law will ban so-called conversion practices, which often take place in family setting, according to ministers. It would mean that if parents try to stop their child dressing in a way that reflects their sexual orientation or gender identity, they could face criminal sanctions, even if they believe they're acting in the child's best interest. You are not the parents. The state is. Get with the program. Surf. It would mean action deemed to be coercive or controlling and attempting to stop a child wanting to go trans would be illegal even if performed with desire to help protect the person. People in Scotland who question radical transgender activism are routinely targeted by authorities. Yep. A 50-year-old mother was charged with transforming hate crime and faced up to 2 years in prison after she retweeted an image of a suffragette men who commit vile sexual acts on women and children and then identify as women to avoid male prisons are also protected by the state. I gotta love my words. Last year, former Scottish leader Nicola Sturgeon said transgender criminals convicted for raping women are women despite them being biological men. In the same month, Scottish government refused to remove a transgender rapist from a female prison despite his conviction for raping 2 women when he was a biological male. I remember this. I wonder what's in my news feed. Yep, Barry covers the Scottish. Former president of Canadian Pride Organization charged with committing child sex crimes against children under 16. Who could have foreseen this coming? Obviously not the children. Woof. More in the Ecuador thing. Ecuador inmates hold 125 guards, 14 workers hostage in prisons. Oh man. New York high school forced into remote teaching as migrants move in for a night or more. Okay, you have my attention. Students at a Brooklyn high school are forced into remote learning mode on Wednesday as their school was suddenly turned into a temporary shelter for migrants whose tents were deemed unsafe amid stormy weather. An unspecified number of migrants will sleep on the floor of James Madison High School gym. They're among nearly 2,000 who were evacuated on Tuesday from a tent complex at Floyd Bennett Field, a former municipal airport in southeast Brooklyn that's now a federally managed recreation area. As harsh weather hits the region, authorities say they were concerned about two perils: flooding and wind. Gusts up to 70 miles per hour were anticipated alongside heavy rain. In a dark comic twist, conditions of the site are more dangerous thanks to federal regulations. Since the old airfield is a historic site, tent stakes are prohibited. Oh my god, you can't make this shit up. Well, I know it's New York, but Jesus fuck. We want to make sure people are safe. Yada yada yada. I agree with the sentiment. This is fucked up. A local resident named Rob told the New York Post. I agree. It's a litmus test. They're using a storm, a legitimate situation. They're trying to test us out. I guarantee you they'll be here for the entire summer. I agree. Oh, God. I like this. Let's see. How does it feel that you kicked all the kids out of school tomorrow? Does it feel good? I hope you feel good. I hope you will sleep very well tonight. A dad chimed in. How do you feel stealing America's tax money? I'm sure they feel just peachy. T-shirts will be available via Zoom if requested by prior email. Oh my god. The relocation will continue until any weather conditions arise that stabilizes facility once fit for living. Migrants have previously endured some harrowing times at the tent complex. I don't give a fuck. And I'm sure a lot of New Yorkers don't give a fuck either. Man. Man. Happy paste. Boop. Happy paste. Okay, more from the libs of TikTok on the pedo. Sean Gravales, an outspoken Alphabet Soup activist and the president of the Alphabet Soup Pride Organization Canada, was arrested for sex crimes against children and for and possessing and distributing child pornography. Yep, sounds about right. Okay, this is fucked up. Quebec police don't want residents to post videos of people stealing packages because porch pirates might be innocent. Quebec, on behalf of the rest of Canada, you can go fuck yourself. Seriously. Sincerely, Ontario, go fuck yourself. This is a kick in the teeth. So with the James Madison High School thing we just read before, not only did James Madison High School cancel the in-person classes today to make room for illegals, they also postponed indefinitely the highly anticipated annual Winter Wonderland event, which was supposed to take place today. That's just a kick in the teeth. Fuck. I always like winter carnival is probably one of the funnest times in school, and theirs got canceled, and on top of having to go back into remote learning because a bunch of fucking ingrate immigrants are in there. Fuck, feel bad. Okay, this is interesting. I received this from the source O'Hare Airport in Chicago. Parts of the airport were sectioned off to house illegals. There were too many illegals now. They overflowed into a terminal area. Huh. So we have students getting kicked out of school to house illegals in New York. And now we have travelers getting blocked from entering the entire sections of O'Hare Airport in Chicago to house illegals. Joe Biden's turned America into a third world hellhole. Oh, that ship has already sailed. I wasn't gonna cover this because it's shit we've ever seen before. I don't recall. Forgetful Fauci memory fails over 100 times during congressional grilling. It's like, yeah, he's always just like, oh, I forget. I can't recall. No, no, no. I didn't do anything wrong. Derp, 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 derp. Fuck this guy. Fuck you, Fauci. What the fuck? What the- Okay, for those who want context, there is none. There's a black guy stripping and twerking on the hood of a police car. Yeah. Oh god. Okay, I've seen this a few times. I may as well mention it. San Francisco votes 8-3 in support of ceasefire resolution. And of course, they're all just, like being a bunch of retards and just like clapping their hands like the seals they are. It's like, oh yeah, we've totally ended the war by voting a resolution for ceasefire in San Francisco. look at all the pink hair and the man buns. They're changing the world. Yeah, that's all I got. Fuck it. I don't know. Does anyone have anything they want to say? How is everyone doing with the hump day that is today? I had a snow dump and I really should go shovel, but I just don't feel like it. I should probably shovel my steps for the mailman just in case. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do after stream. Go shovel my steps. Rest of my driveway, we'll see. Proctor's Discord channel is looped to boat girls. I don't care. I care not for the boat waifus. I feel obligated to mention this since I'm looking at the farms right now. So apparently Rackets won the 2023 Lol Cow of the Year. I'm not overly surprised. Again, I bailed on Rackets literally the night before the first Vic ruling, because the night before the Vic ruling, I felt in my soul the shit was gonna get retarded, and it did. But I never expected it to get this bad. It took a few years, don't get me wrong. It took a few years since the Weeb Wars for Rackets to completely lose his mind and to be possessed by the tulpa of Christian. But it finally happened. Allegedly, he's going sober for the month of January as a New Year's resolution. I don't buy that for a fucking second. Hmm. Yeah, I think that's about it for me. All right. So, thanks for coming. Take it easy, and catch you later.